Hello and welcome. Okay, so let's just dive right in. We're about to find out how one tiny little piece of punctuation, yep, the comma, actually has the power to change an entire story. I know, that sounds a little dramatic, but trust me, it really is.
So let me just ask you this. Do you think two little commas, just a quick flick of a pen, could completely change the size of a family? Well, the answer, believe it or not, is a huge yes. And in this explainer, we're going to see exactly how that's even possible.
Now, I want you to take a look at these two sentences. At first glance, they look pretty much the same, don't they? The only real difference is a couple of commas. But here's the crazy part. One of these sentences tells me I have a bunch of brothers, and the other one says I've only got one. Stick around because it's like a little grammatical magic trick, and I'm going to show you exactly how it's done.
All right, so to crack this case, we first need to introduce the star of the show, something called the relative clause. The easiest way to think about it is like a helpful sidekick that pops into your sentence to give you a bit more info about whatever you're talking about.
So what is this thing really? Well, simply put, a relative clause is just a little phrase that describes a person or a thing. It usually starts with a word like who if you're talking about people, or which or that for objects. You know, it's the part that goes, who is a police officer in our example. Pretty straightforward, right?
And here's a perfect example. You start with, that is, an ambulance. Okay, simple. But then you add the relative clause, which took me to the hospital near the university. And boom! Suddenly the picture is way clearer. It adds a really specific detail. But here's the big question. Is that detail essential, or is it just extra? That's the key difference we're about to get into.
Okay, so it turns out there are two main flavors of these clauses. The first one is called a defining relative clause. And the name pretty much says it all. This clause defines exactly who or what you're talking about. This isn't just bonus info. It's a vital clue.
All right, here's the first big rule you got to lock in. For defining clauses, no commas, no compromise, period. The information that it gives you is absolutely essential for the sentence to make any sense.
So let's jump back to that first sentence about my brother. See? No commas anywhere. That phrase, who works as a police officer, that's our defining clause. It's not just some random tidbit, it's the key that unlocks the whole sentence. So, why is it so essential? Well, think about it. If I just walked up and said, my brother lives in New York, you'd look at me and go, which one? That clause, who works as a police officer, answers that question for you. And what does that tell us? It means I've got to have more than one brother. And there it is. Mystery number one, totally solved.
All right, so if that's the essential stuff, what's the other kind? Well, it's pretty much the complete opposite. This is the non-defining clause, and I like to call this the by-the-way information. You know, it's interesting, but it's not totally necessary.
And this brings us to golden rule number 2. And it's super easy to remember. Commas mean extra. Non-defining clauses are always walled off from the rest of the sentence by commas. Think of them like little fences, just keeping that bonus information contained.
Okay, now look at the second sentence, the one with the commas. My brother, who is a police officer, lives in New York. See those two little commas snuggled up around that clause? They're basically little flags telling you that something different is going on here. In this case, who is a police officer is just a fun fact, an aside. You could literally lift that part out of the sentence, and the main point, my brother lives in New York, still works perfectly. And because we don't need to specify which brother, well, that can only mean one thing. I've only got one. How cool is that?
Okay, you've totally nailed the mystery of the brothers. You're getting good at this. So let's raise the stakes with a little showdown. This next example shows how a comma can be the difference between some and all.
Check these two out. The students who passed the test had a party, and the students who passed the test had a party. Very similar, right? But one of these describes a party for just a handful of students, and the other describes a party for everybody. Take a second. Can you figure out which is which?
All right, let's see who's on the guest list. In the first sentence, with no commas, we're talking about a very specific group. Only the students who passed the test got to party. But you add those commas, bam, the whole class is there. We're just adding a little extra fact about them. That, by the way, they all passed. That's a huge difference.
So here's the bottom line, the big takeaway. Those little commas are the difference between talking about some of a group or all of a group. That's not just a little grammar rule. That is a massive, massive difference in meaning.
So, how are you feeling? Kind of like a grammar superhero, right? You should. Let's pull all this together into a quick and easy cheat sheet so you can take this new superpower with you.
It really is this simple. You've got your defining clauses. No commas, the info is essential, and it's there to narrow things down. Then you've got your non-defining clauses. Yep, they've got commas, the info is just extra, a bonus detail. Seriously, that's the whole game right there.
Look, if you walk away with just one single thing today, please let it be this. Just think of commas as little fences. They're built to wall off that extra, non-essential, by the way, information. If you see the fences, it's bonus info. No fences, it's essential. So there you have it, the comma's secret identity. It's officially been revealed. It's so much more than just a place to take a breath, isn't it? It's a total powerhouse of meaning. So now I'll leave you with a challenge. You've got this new power. Where are you going to spot it out in the real world, totally changing the story of a sentence? Go on, happy hunting.